Feeling pretty good, I'm sure, huh?
So good, so relieved. Good to get back in that win column.
I was gonna say, how much pressure do you put on yourself coming off of two losses like that, and how? Well, we talked the other day about the pressure, but how much do you feel it when you're actually walking out? Do you
Honestly,
feel
a
it?
lot. It went through my head, like when I was in the locker room, like shoot. Like I've never come off two losses before. I've never had like those two losses in a row. So for me, it's just that third one. Like I kept telling myself, I'm like, you cannot lose this fight. Like no matter what. Like I was just willing to go in there and go through anything to get that win.
Is there a danger of psyching yourself out when you're mentally taxing yourself like that in the back?
I mean, I'm sure there is danger of that, but for me, I tend to fight better with more pressure, and I think that's why I've never had two losses in a row in the past, because I've always told myself that. I remember one time I was in the middle of a fight, and I was like in a submission. I was like, Carla, you cannot get another loss, like no way. So, and I fought out of the submission. And it's kind of how I felt going to this fight. I'm like, no way, no how, no lose, no loss.
Was the game plan to get her on the canvas right away in the first round, and if so, did everything go exactly how you thought it would right away out of the gate?
Actually, that was exactly the game plan. I mean, people ask me, what was the game plan? I'm like, exactly what you saw in there. It's very rare that you can, implement exactly what you want, just because, there's always random things being thrown at you. You don't know what they're going to do necessarily, but I think upon getting this like kind of last minute switch, just studying her bites, I noticed that she's always going for takedown, 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 usually within the first 90 seconds. So I knew if I didn't go, she was going to go. So I just kind of went in there like no fear attitude, like I got to be the one, and having confidence in myself, my top game. It's, to me that was like super important, because whenever I've fought scared in the past, like, oh, their jiu-jitsu is too good, or they're going to do this, like whenever I fight scared, I lose. And I just went in like I can't fight scared.
She had her little moment there in the second round, and I'm wondering, I guess, how tight the choke was, how close was any of it, and was that more you slipping it, or did she just let loose on it?
But when I kind of was in the guillotine,
Yeah.
honestly, it wasn't close at all.
Okay.
Because my arm was like really extended down, so I had like a lot of breathing room. And I knew once she flipped it and got on top, it was just, I knew it wasn't sunk in, but it was just a matter of like, if I were to move and try to explode, I could have given it to her. So I was just like, just be patient. And I think that comes with a lot of experience, is knowing when not to go nuts and knowing when to just kind of be patient, like you let them move, even though it might take a little bit of time.
Talk a little bit about maybe what's next for you, what you want next. I know we're not talking like hey, I need one more and I can get a title shot, but it does happen quicker in your division. The title fight is happening soon. You got to start with one, and this is the one you needed tonight, right? So
Yeah,
what
definitely.
are you looking for?
Honestly, anything that kind of gets me closer to that. I've never been afraid to fight the top in the division my whole career, and I'm always looking to be number one, always looking to have a belt, to be the best that I can be, whatever that means. But yeah, just anyone pretty much. I think if I get too focused on one person, I get like a little bit disappointed. I just kind of like let them throw whatever at me. They're never going to throw easy fights at me. That's kind of like heavy lies the burden of being a former champion. So whatever they throw, I'm ready.
Speaking of that, would you welcome a fight with Joanna to try and get that one back?
That's a tough one, but honestly, I've thought about that a lot throughout my, since the fight happened. Not to take anything away from her win, but I really wasn't in the best place, and I think she's gotten better, I've gotten better, and, I would definitely be welcome to that fight again, and I think no matter what happens in that fight, it would be a much different fight than it was the first time.
Any other names like Michelle Waterson, Tisha Torres that you might consider?
Oh, that's funny. Michelle Watterson has kind of like called me out in a respectful way in the past, and mention of possibly bringing a 105 division in. I think that would have been an awesome, first title fight. I think that would be awesome. But who knows if that's ever going to happen, and if it doesn't, I welcome that fight. She's a cool girl, and I think we'd have a great fight.
You were mentioning about the losses and mentally. So did you do anything different? Did you do meditation or anything to try to focus mentally because of those?
I actually did a lot of things differently this camp. For me, every loss kind of brings me to a different place mentally. Like I got to study myself. Why did I lose? What are the reasons that I didn't have success? And I think a lot of the reasons were, just have kind of losing a strength advantage sometimes, just being a little bit smaller. I think I showed losing the fight like on my back, and just kind of like that I needed to work on my jiu-jitsu. Hours and hours working with my new jiu-jitsu coach Matt, putting the time in on the mat, being in uncomfortable positions. I put the time in. Clint at the UFC PI has been helping me with my nutrition. So I've been like putting on so much muscle and strength. It's been crazy, and just kind of making those adjustments, I think is what's going to constantly keep evolving me and constantly keep me in the game.
And you mentioned that, and I'm wondering too, you won the fight, but how did you feel then putting the extra muscle on? Did that have any effect in training and even in the fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because you never know, like each opponent is strong, but I mean, there wasn't a time in this fight that I felt like I was really overpowered, so I would really say it made the difference. I worked on my wrestling a lot this camp as well, my defensive wrestling, having had a loss my last fight. I mean, granted, it was a world champion wrestler, but that's no excuse to me. I spent a lot of time working on my defense this camp with my coach Kenny Johnson, and just getting that work in.